kind of like OnlyFans, but
Your
for
time, your money,
athletes.
your fight.
Oh, wait. There. Do you see me? Wait a second. I see myself on the computer one now too. I'm so confused. Can you see me on? What the hell? I am so confused right now.
Oh, I didn't realize I was muted. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was muted. But now you can hear me, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
can. And what's really weird is I'm talking to the phone, but I see myself on the computer.
Yeah. I hear your echo from the computer.
What the hell? But that is so weird. Let me turn that. This is trippy.
Yeah. I've never had this happen before.
No, I know.
Got to be a first for everything.
Yeah, huh? Oop. Are you all right?
All right.
Okay.
Awesome. Cool. So let's get into it then.
Okay.
The lovely Jeslen, right? Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, just how it sounds. Jeslen. Hi.
Jeslen. Awesome. And the body slamming queen. So how did you get that fight name? Or is that your pro wrestling name?
That was my pro wrestling name because I was pro wrestling before the idea of being an MMA fighter ever occurred to me. And it's one of my finishing moves. The reason being is the body slam is a very classic and traditional, excellent move. And it used to be a finisher, um, like back in the day, but now pro wrestling's gotten so flashy that body slams aren't as cool.
Mm, okay. But that was where it started off.
Yeah, like a big old body slam that would finish someone. Now all the wrestlers kick out.
All right. So, because this I feel translates very nice to what we were talking about earlier. The videos you posted on your story, was that how you got started with MMA?
I actually forget about that whole little mini chapter of my life because it's so weird because they hired pro wrestlers to play lingerie fighters in this pretend fighting. And I, I was like, I didn't know how much I wanted to put myself out there with the whole being sexualized. Not like not like I wasn't a stripper or bartender in my previous years either. So it's like, but that's the reason why I wanted to step away is like I want to really like be a performer and an artist and not have to use that. But there's really no way around it as a female, honestly, in entertainment at least. So I agreed to doing it when they told me what they were going to pay me. I was living in Sacramento at the time, and they're like, "We're going to fly you to Vegas and pay you this much." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do whatever." Um, and then and so they sent the deposit, and that was a cool little chapter of my life. There's a lot of stuff that came from that. So yeah, we'll continue talking, but you can ask more questions if you need first.
No, no, no. You said you would do whatever, so I that was what I asked. I said whatever.
Well,
Okay.
the scariest thing is stand-up comedy, so I probably won't try to do that. But I
Oh,
mean, I'll take a doo-doo on the stage if someone pays me enough.
wouldn't be a fun experience, I'm sure. Um,
I don't know. There's a price
but
for everything.
I'm sure you could make the best out of it, you know?
Yeah.
Um, all right. So, and then the
So
other clip that I had saw, not the one of you twerking, but the other one, you had picked her up and slammed her against the cage, when she had you in an armbar or something. That was a different fight or the same one?
that was the same one, although all of my fights were fairly awesome like that. Okay, so let's just take a little rewind. I was always an athlete growing up. I hated it. I wanted to just be a actor, honestly, and performer. I loved that I was entertaining people. That's the only thing that sustained me in sports, but I didn't realize that till later. I'm really thankful that I didn't end up going to college to play basketball. I thought I was supposed to be the first woman on the NBA, like, because I played on the boys team in middle school. But I just wanted to perform. I just wanted to entertain. And I had to go through a lot of like self-discovery, wondering if that's because I needed the attention or if I needed to like dream of being famous because it would make me feel better about myself. And as I've matured, I don't think that that's really why. I think I really just like seeing people happy. And I really think it makes, and I have made people see things differently where they could go out and do it themselves. Like they could go out and do shit themselves and try stuff. And I think that that's really what's truly brought me joy in entertaining. Because I really had no experience or practice when it came to dancing or the aerial that I did or any performance art that I've done in the past. And even acting, like I got it my first movie role because I was willing to be topless when I was really young, so of age. But that started the whole thing. I have a cool IMDb and had some really cool projects. But so I just wanted to entertain people, right? So when I went to a venue where I was going to perform the following night, and I went to check out the specs and measurements of the stage, there was a pro wrestling show going on. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what is this? I mean, I knew what WWE was and, you know, all those wrestlers, but I didn't know it was like that. Because when you go to a live local show, the crowd's in it, everyone's yelling, there's props flying into the audience, there's wrestlers getting thrown into the chairs, and it's just so engaging and interactive. And there's costumes and stunts and athleticism, but character. And I was like, why have I been missing out on this? Like, I didn't like it on TV. It's really different on TV. Everything's just more scripted. I know they say that about wrestling anyway, but I've been ringside before a Raw and SmackDown show, and you could hear the 7 writers telling the wrestlers what to do for their match. That's not how it is in the local scenes. You come up with these creative, crazy ideas, and oftentimes on the spot. It's not practiced. And it was just so cool. So I said, I'm going to do that. And took a few years. I found a gym and went to train.
Awesome.
But then, when was it? I think it was before I even started jujitsu. But then when those people hit me up, I don't know how I knew what an armbar was. I don't know how I knew anything. Ronda Rousey was really big. I think I was watching a lot of UFC because of Ronda. Mm-hmm. And they booked me for that lingerie show. And me and that girl, Shay Maserati, I think we had the best matches because we knew how to work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you worked with her in the past then?
I worked with her in the ring. By the time that match happened, she and I had been wrestling for a few years. But my first lingerie fights, I didn't know what the fuck I was like. I'm like, you could tell when someone doesn't know how to fight. Yeah. But then a year after they booked that, I started jiu-jitsu, and I was in love with jiu-jitsu. It was like the first love of my life.
Okay. So that transitions to another question I had in mind before we actually start the interviews. Because we were talking the other night, I was telling you some of my heartbreak stories, and so I don't know if you have any you're willing to share or any that have helped shape your life into who you are. But if so, you know, now's the chance.
You say heartbreak?
Heartbreak, love, whatever.
You know, every relationship has shaped who I am. And as I grow older and wiser, I love myself more and more. Like I'm more of who I really truly am. Whereas in our 20s and stuff, we're like discovering and exploring. And those heartbreaks fucking sucked. Like there are some bad ones, but it ends. It's like anything bad, it passes, right? And we kind of have to go through that. I'm still friends with most of my exes. It's, you know, might have taken so many years, but I think that we're cool now. I think that I know they would wish the best for me now. Oddly enough, there was like a day where 5 lovers from my past hit me up on the same day, like recently.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. But no, yeah, they all have shaped my life. More so the relationship themselves. Like, I don't want to focus on the breakup, just the fact that it happened and what you really can learn about yourself when you're with somebody. You learn a lot because I'm like often by myself and I like it, but no one's there to kind of point things out to you where you could be doing better or like you don't notice you're doing.
Outside perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm really thankful for those relationships. But yeah, the heartbreak, man, I don't think anything could hurt me worse than the heartbreak I had in my early 20s. I was with him for 5 years. He was a drummer in a metal band. We were heavy into the metal scene in Sacramento. I still love metal, of course, but uh, I don't know why that one hurt the most. I think it was just because he was the first person that made me realize I could love someone that much. I didn't know I could love a human like that because I never had that before. And so it hurt, but I went through it like a 3-year depression afterwards. Um, and I took that out on creative pursuits like that. I was doing a lot of performance art after that and a lot of partying. And that's like kind of something I'd like to share is like I was a party girl and I'm glad I'm not anymore. It's slowly tapered. I wouldn't say I'm like sober, but I
Mhm.
haven't been drunk in a year and I don't drink liquor anymore. So
Congratulations. I
yeah,
don't drink either. Not
no,
because I was a party or anything, but like I just know it's basically poison for our body. So
it literally, yeah, it's literal poison. And it's like, especially since fighting and having to cut weight and diet, we're very particular about what goes into our body that can make all the difference and all the supplements, like just a tiny little capsule makes all the difference. So why would I guzzle down this literal poison? Like look up the definition of poison.
right.
And food is a lot of food that we eat or that regular people eat is literal poison too. So yeah, but I do enjoy good beer and hard kombucha.
I like kombucha.
Hard kombucha. Have you
I've
tried
never
it?
tried hard kombucha though.
Oh yeah, it's like 7%. And
Really?
yeah, and there's like a lot of them have no sugar and no carbs,
Okay. That I might
which
have to try then.
yeah,
Um,
which is weird because actual kombucha has a lot of carbs and sugar.
yeah, but it's got like 0.5% of alcohol instead of the
Yeah,
7. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Huh.
Yeah, try it.
Gotcha. So let's transition to this next question then. What, if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would that food be? With no trade-off to it.
Well, I love beans and eggs. Beans and eggs. Egg, can
Beans.
I say two?
Yeah.
But that's what I eat anyway.
Okay. So eggs, beans, and steak.
I like red meat, but I could go without it.
Okay. All right. What makes that your favorite? What makes that your choice?
I don't know. I'm brown.
Okay.
um, yeah, I don't know. I just have loved eggs since I was a little kid. In my When I was in kindergarten, we had a video yearbook, and I'm like this. I'm like, my name's Jeslen. My last name's Jeslen Signs, and my favorite food is eggs. And then and she's such a cute little girl, poor little girl. Then the camera moves on. But yeah, I just love eggs and beans.
Okay. So you kind of already answered this, but if you couldn't be a fighter, what would you be?
I did answer that. I
I
would be a
feel like
singer
you
in
did.
a rock and roll band with blues undertones.
So it's a different answer than I thought. Because I assumed it would be performing, acting, and then maybe pro wrestling. Those were my
To me,
thoughts.
right. To me, they're all the same umbrella. Because I've already done the performance. Here's the thing with my issue. I have like the opposite of an addictive personality. So it's been really hard for me to understand addiction. Uh, Real quick tangent, just very quick.
Of course.
Recently, a friend I hardly know asked me because I live in Vegas to do her a big favor, and I hesitated, but I did it. She said that she had a sister that had been missing for 2 years and that her sister reached out to the family and said she was in Vegas. So the sister said, we're on our way down there from Sacramento. Can you go get her and keep her safe? She told me the area she was in Vegas, and it's not like those hotels I've learned later are for trafficking and prostitution and just not the most savory of places. Anyway, I went, and skipping a huge chunk of this very interesting few days, the girl stayed with me until I took her to a detox place, and then she ran away. Good thing though, she's home now and doing really well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the whole story in itself. But the whole time I'm trying to understand addiction versus willpower versus understanding the chemicals, understanding that we're in control of our body and not our body in control of us. But like my sister's a psychotherapist, and she says once it's like that, it's just too hard. It's just you want to hope and wish that you could have like a will to overcome anything. And through fighting, I've learned that it is very powerful, but I don't know how people tap into it. Like, how do some people just have that connection more than others, you know? So what was the question you were asking me though? I just brain farted. Hi, baby.
Oh, if you couldn't be a
Addiction.
fighter, what would you be?
Oh
But
yeah.
you were talking about addiction, so keep going with
Yeah,
that.
dude, I went on a big old tangent just then. Sorry
Oh, this
about
is
that.
good. I like that.
So yes, about addiction. So I just had a hard time understanding. I'm like, just don't do it. I wanted to tell her. I just wanted to hold her. I just wanted to like make it better and take it away from her and just like make her realize she's strong enough to just fucking stop.
Mm-hmm.
But I just couldn't. So my problem is like I have a hard time sticking with things. Like I have a hard time continuing on and being obsessed about it and giving it 100% even, and ultimately maybe commitment. But and so that's why with all that story, just for this, that's why with all the cool things I've done, including the performance art and acting, I still do, but like I've never dove head first and just fucking committed to it. Never practiced enough. Like a lot of my performances are improvised because I want to feel what I'm feeling at the time. I don't want to like have a 5, 6, 7, 8. But
Right.
that's how you do that. And until I found fighting. And fighting's the only thing I ever felt like I went head first into. And it was the only thing in my life that I never even considered doing. So all I ever wanted to do since I was 4 years old was be a singer in a band. And that's the only thing I haven't done.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of rambling for just that, eh?
Oh, that was great. That was great. I love the rambling, so please feel encouraged to do as much of it as you want. Because all that's going to do is give us more things to talk about, more content, and yeah. So you can introduce your cat since got
This is Wildfire. He was supposed to be
Wildfire.
Bingo.
Okay. So tell me about Wildfire.
Yeah, I was visiting my friend in Oregon, my best friend since third grade. She has three children that are my godkids, and there's a ad saying Bengal cats for sale. She said, "Just go look." And I didn't really want a cat, but I thought Bengals were cool, so I wanted to look at them. And he was so cute. And then he had a little brother who was a runt and black, and he said no one wanted to adopt this one because he's black and small. So I have him too. His name's Harvey. And I guess there are black Bengals. They're definitely a mix, but they're still cool.
Okay.
He's not Tabby. He's too agile.
Too agile, too quick.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, they are. I've always considered myself a dog person, but I really like these boys. They're kind of cool.
Mm. You know,
Do I look like Theo Vaughn with my mullet? I keep feeling like I do.
uh, I wasn't even thinking Theo Vaughn. No, no, I don't see it. Is that what you
Okay.
were going for?
Oh, I just see him. I think he's cute though, so I guess that's not a bad thing. But sometimes I feel like I have a with this haircut, I feel like I look more masculine. I
Okay.
had long blonde
I'll
hair
tell
for
you, I
years.
think you look cute if it helps you.
Oh,
Does that make you
thanks.
feel better? You're very cute. And
Oh,
to be
I
like, I'm gonna tell you this 100% honesty. Originally, I wanted to have somebody else do this call with you. I was gonna have Carrie do it, because I was worried I was going to fall in love with you because
Oh
you're
my
so
goodness.
beautiful, and I just do not want to fuck up this business.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, you're silly.
so yeah, but
Well,
now move
don't worry
forward from
about it
that.
then, right?
What?
Now that I look like Theo Vaughn, you don't have to.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't even have to worry anymore. All
Yeah.
right. So, let's get into some of these questions then. What
Oh
is the
yeah.
toughest fight you've had so far?
Gosh. What's cool about fighting is you could have an easy opponent and that could be the toughest fight, or you could have a tough opponent and it could go your way and be easy. But the toughest thing about every fight is the weight cut and the training and dealing with injuries. But I will say that my last amateur fight was the toughest. And they just asked me if I wanted to do another fight with her because since then we've both gone pro.
Hmm.
Her name's Riley Martinez. She's awesome. It was like the most fun fight I've had was my last amateur fight. It was for a belt, and she's tough as nails. She's fucking tough, and she even fought since then another former opponent that I fought in PFL. Schooled her,
Yeah.
and I would like to fight Riley again because they did ask me, but it just wasn't going to work out. She's tough, and I want to fight her again because she's tough. The
Hmm.
toughest fight. But I won't say that that was the toughest fight. I think mentally I had a tougher fight. Um, when my first and only loss, something was going on with me in the whole fight camp in my outside life. Internally, there's some struggling and changes, and I just wasn't clear. I wasn't there. I just wasn't present in the fight, and I was just fucking going. And my coach is like, "You didn't do anything we planned," and I lost in the second round.
Oh,
And I would
so
never lose to something like that. Like that's even my teammates are like, you're really hard to take from the back. You're really hard to choke. We were that everyone was surprised that that was the way I did
mm,
it. I lost.
do you want to get into what was going through your mind during that time?
Nothing was going through my mind. It was just like this gray fog cloud, like I was like overtaken by some thing.
Huh.
I thought that maybe her Brazilian grandmother sent a curse, not necessarily a curse, but just really protection over her.
Okay.
but
All right.
that but my coach and I say it doesn't matter what anyone sends to us, we can elevate to transcend that and keep away from it because
Right.
nothing is more powerful than the inner light.
Okay.
Not to sound
Um,
like a weirdo, but I am.
no, no, you're great. I love how authentic you're being, and you're very unique, which is good. You're not weird. You're unique, which is good.
That's what
All
people
right.
said my whole life. I got
I
voted
don't,
most, u-
what?
I got voted most unique in my eighth grade yearbook.
Oh, really? Wow. Congratulations. Did you get a trophy, or was it just
No,
like a participation medal?
I just got a picture and the yearbook said most unique.
Oh, all right. So you went
I was
down
the
in
only
history.
one. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Do you have a dream fight?
A dream fight, Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey. Okay.
Yeah.
And so why is that?
Well, I have a nemesis fight, but the dream fight is more of like a positive, like, whoa, that's cool. I don't know. I think, like I said, she was big like 2015, 14, 15 when I started watching her and when I started training pro wrestling. And I was like, oh, and I think anything I knew about MMA was through watching her. And I guess in some way it really inspired me. I like that because as a child, I don't remember having any females to have looked up to. Like as a little kid, maybe
Mm,
Red Sonja or some warrior princess, but I feel like she affected me more than I realized. And I think it would just be cool because I was pro wrestling and then she retired and then she started pro wrestling. And it wasn't a feeling of jealousy, but it was just like, dang, you know? But then I started fighting. So I'm like, we're kind of similar. So
she's
let
in
me,
movies too, so she's literally doing everything you're wanting to do, just in a
yeah.
different.
Yeah, but she had a great push. Like she had everyone supporting her. Like she had guidance, like something different.
Mm,
But I have the nemesis fight. let me just talk about this. Her name's Danielle Wolf. She's signed to the UFC. She's a professional boxer, and she was supposed to be my second amateur fight. I didn't know how to strike. Like striking's still, I'm still trying to catch up with some striking. But at the time, I didn't have any striking training except for maybe like a kickboxing class or two. Not necessarily even for fighting. Anyway, I was preparing to fight her, and I'm like scared to death. And one of my teammates, who's a pro, who is banned from fighting except on reservations because he's done too many bad things. Okay. He kicked my head, knocked me down. When I stood up, snap kicked my nose and broke it. So that fight got canceled.
Oh,
my nose was just demolished. And then I saw her on her social media say everyone's too scared to fight her. And she is scary. She's beautiful. She's tall and fit. She's beautiful and she's smart. She's an older woman now. Anyway, so a couple years go by, and she ends up getting the Contenders series. Somehow she beats her opponent, and this opponent has lots of experience. I don't even know how that happened, but then Dana White gave her the contract. Anyway, I'm just like, I've been here working my ass off. She doesn't have one amateur fight. She goes straight to Contender series. She's with the UFC, like it's just all that work. And I think a lot of fighters might relate to that.
So you're feeling kind of like a jealousy?
I wouldn't say jealous, because jealous means I want to be like her. It's more like
envy.
When something's not fair or righteous. But it's because she's beautiful, right? And she has allocates with her Olympic boxing levels. So, she's already someone, and UFC wants stars and characters. I watched that Fitz interview through you guys. Do you remember that? And he was talking about how he didn't like how UFC was becoming like pro wrestling, where you had to be a character.
Oh, John Fitch. Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
And I, in so many ways, agree with him, because it's really about, so in this case, it's really about how hard did you work? And I like that about pro wrestling, though. Believe it or not, you have to pay your dues before they put you in certain promotions or with certain matches or with certain opponents or for a belt. And paying your dues is simply putting in the time, breaking the ring down, setting it up at shows, and just like being committed to it. Someone who gets an opportunity in pro wrestling without doing that, it doesn't happen, or they're talked shit on. But so Fitch was saying that, like, he's like, it's become like pro wrestling. It's like characters and whoever's going to be entertaining and stuff. But that's exactly it. Like, him even saying that made me more interested in him, because we as humans like characters. We like to remember. Yeah. So everything is about personality and person. But in this case, yeah, it was like not about her skill set or experience.
Okay. So I don't even know what question we were on, but let's go on to this next one. If you were given $5,000 to help change the world or help change someone's life or improve the world, what would you do with it?
5 G's?
5 G's. The number's arbitrary. Call it 50,000, 500,000, doesn't matter. What would you do?
Okay, $500,000. Well, you would start a nonprofit for whatever you want to work with. And from what I've been experiencing, it's self-defense for women who never had belief or confidence in themselves to stay away from the situations that they get in. That situation with the young girl that I found, it was really impactful in that sense, because it was already something I was thinking about. They don't realize that they don't have to do these things, and it's all about body nuances. So it would be like a nonprofit to find these women in recovery, or even not, just, my friend says, any woman. And it's not so much a self-defense that's jujitsu based and about doing the moves, because it's really hard to do the moves when you don't drill them. You have to drill them and train them. Like, these moves aren't going to work unless you practice them. I don't care if I believe in the moves, trust me, but you have to practice them. So when a woman is attacked and she like took a self-defense class, she's going to forget.
Right.
But if we teach them how to carry themselves and how to start believing in themselves and start looking within and start addressing the traumas that they had and like clearing those away, then you can learn. For example, I was in Egypt and an Egyptian man wanted to take a picture with me. So he puts his hand like low, like he wants to touch my waist. And I block it. And like, nope, I go under.
Mm-hmm.
The only wants his. And then if you do that, usually the men are like, oh, okay, all it takes. But then he started tickling my back because I didn't let him get what he wanted. So I jerk his arm up and I grab around his waist and I squeeze really hard and I pick him up and I'm like, take the picture now, because he wanted the photo. And my friend who took the picture said he ran away with his tail between his legs because it's like, you don't do that to me. Get
Right.
away. So and I even have the pictures. It's pretty funny to show. So it's just these little things about recognizing it before it happens, nipping it in the bud, and knowing that you don't need to let someone treat you like that. And so anyway, it's a nonprofit for that kind of area.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to change the world, but it's definitely a start.
It's gonna
And
change
if
the
you start,
world.
yeah, someone's world. And if you start with the young girls, you could start with like young girls. I'm Native American, so I taught a couple self-defense on the reservation. If you start with them there and start like reminding them, because there's not a lot of guidance on the res, there's not a lot of influences. There's a lot of really amazing Native women who are out there and doing it and strong, powerful, but we're still catching up. We're still catching up from the generational traumas and
Right.
abuse. It was only a few generations ago where our grandmothers were in boarding school getting beat and raped.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. I
Yeah. So that's the first thing I would do.
okay. I like that. And so I want to add to something you were saying in there. I don't even remember where this tied in, but it was like about making it was about making a difference to even just one person. So um this is the starfish story. So this is something that my mom told me when I was like really young, and it is like hanging on our fridge at the house, and so it just always stuck in my mind. But basically, there's this old man on a beach and he's walking and he sees all these starfish that are just on the sand and dried up. And then he sees this little girl that is throwing starfish into the ocean one by one. And he goes over to her and asks, little girl, why are you doing that? It's not going to make a difference. There's way too many starfish out here. And she goes, she smiles, she looks at him, takes the starfish, throws it in the ocean, and then says, it made a difference to that one, and then keeps going. And
Oh,
so I try to keep that in mind as often as I can because that's what it's all about is making a difference to as many people as you can in as many
yeah.
ways as you can. Um,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know,
And even if it's just a small amount, it ripples. Like then they'll make a difference, and then they'll make a difference, and then
yes,
so on. Yeah.
yes.
I love that story. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, thank you for letting me. And I'm gonna say another story now because it just came to mind.
I love it.
And it correlates a little bit. So, um, a, I want to say it was a year ago, but it was probably 2 years ago now. I was at a music festival and I was on LSD. It was the longest trip I had ever had. I was telling people it was the Billy Mays strain because every time I was coming down from it, it was like, but wait, there's more, and then I would
Oh
rise
my
back
gosh.
up. And so it was an experience, but there was one point where I was walking and I saw a friend of mine who was an artist. She was painting and she's in front of the
Yeah.
stage painting, and all these people sitting are watching the band playing. But I thought to myself, this is crazy. Like, why aren't people watching this beauty being created? And instead, they're watching something they can hear from literally everywhere. And so then I went over and I started filming her just painting. And, just
Wow.
that 30 seconds that I was filming her. And then she looked at me, she smiled, and it just like her eyes just lit up and just brightened her day. and it definitely made a difference to her. And so from that story, what I took is that lesson, I guess, is like that part of my purpose is to give attention to those who deserve the attention and aren't yet getting it, or the
Oh,
ones who are being overlooked.
yeah. Yeah. I like that. And I wonder why though. Is it because they have something to offer that you see that they have that's not being appreciated is why? Is that why? Because like you
Um,
said, no one's noticing because
I'm not sure. I mean, in that specific situation, I don't really know, but I know most of the time I feel like I can see things that people can't. Like I see potential that other
yeah,
people aren't seeing.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so um,
Yeah. There's so many amazing people out there. It's just incredible. And there's a lot of amazing people out there that don't even have social media. Like imagine if they did, but I don't know, it's just not their cup of
right.
tea. They do
And
it for
that's
them.
yeah, exactly. Um, all right, next question for you. What
Okay.
is the most significant choice you've made in your life, whether it's your fight career or otherwise?
Fighting jujitsu changed
Okay.
everything. It changed absolutely everything. It changed my life. Uh, like I said, was an athlete before, but I was always naturally good. So I didn't try, and I didn't love it. But jujitsu, there's something about it that made me love it, and it just started making me want to be there and focus. And it was the first time I learned self discipline. And I think having self discipline is a quality and trait that will enhance anyone's lives. I like that about the military, even though I don't always. I used to be anti-military, but I'm so thankful for everyone who's served, and a lot of the time they come back with that self-discipline that they needed. It just helps you focus. It helps you have direction. It makes you feel less chaotic inside. And jujitsu did that for me. And I'm like, it's like my first love that I'll always love. So I try to encourage every woman to start jujitsu at any age.
I love it. Have you ever heard of Chick Jitsu? Because everything you're
No,
describing sounds like what they're about. Um,
really?
yeah, I'm gonna send you their Instagram. I'm still like not as familiar with them as most people, but one of the fighters on our platform is like a representative for them and or like brand ambassador or something. So
Well,
she works with their events and promotion and stuff like that. And it sounds like almost everything you're describing, like pretty on point. So I'm
yeah.
gonna have to
Well,
send it your way. Um,
please do. Chick
yeah,
jitsu.
Chick Jitsu. Um, all right. So, do you have any fight stories that you want to share?
I was also going to share this earlier, but I kept yapping. But this will answer this question now. As far as a like toughest fight, my first pro fights were at the beginning of 2022, and the year before, I had this. I had rotator cuff surgery, and then I had something else going on with the shoulder that no one could figure out. An MRI showed nothing. We chalk it up to frozen shoulder and dyskinesia, which is the humeral head was coming out of the socket because tight muscles, honestly. But I literally couldn't lift my arm up. I couldn't raise it. I couldn't push the buttons on my radio in my car. I had to use my other arm to put my arm on the steering wheel. Like,
Oh, wow.
and then I went to Belize to like assess. And while I was in Belize, I met a couple who just loved fighting. And this guy loved the PFL and he loved Kayla Harrison. And I'm not shitting you, on that Shark Tour boat ride, I got an email from PFL saying they wanted me in their Challenger series.
And that was
I,
where we met.
huh?
That was where we
And
met, the Challenger series.
yeah, the first one, huh?
Yeah.
So I try not to talk about it to like make people feel sorry for me or be like, oh, or like think more. But I couldn't fucking move my limbs.
Mm.
Like it was, I ended up having to get a cortisone shot for those fights. But yeah, that's right. That's right. And I met you there.
Yeah.
Um,
You're
and so
spinning
that's
on
why
your head.
on the mats,
Yep,
I
yep.
was
And then I like looked at you, and then my fighter started yelling at me because he's like, I need you to focus on me. I'm like, all right, sorry.
well, I was trying to do a head spin. I do remember that.
Yeah.
I just like before fights, like you can drill, but like
Mhm.
sometimes you just need to do something different. I've always wanted to do a head spin, and it was like the perfect mat space.
Oh yeah.
Can't believe you remember that.
Of course. Of course.
Yes.
Um,
So that was really challenging because it was like a mental block thinking I'm like this is my biggest opportunity I've ever had and it can lead to something more and I can't even use my arm. Like I
mm,
and I was just always hurt. I have a mindset coach. She's one of my best friends. She's a self-made millionaire and I have a hypnotherapist who's also a different best friend and I utilize them to get over that.
mhm.
And I
So
believe in
was
the
your
power of the
arm
mind
still
so
hurt
much.
in that fight?
Huh?
Your arm was still hurt in that fight?
Yeah, but I just had a cortisone shot, so I couldn't feel it so much. So it just
Okay.
wasn't strong.
Got it. Wow.
That's it was the first one, so I had to finish it as quick as I could. I'm like, I just went in, "Ah!"
Yeah.
um, but then they called me back for a month later. I was like, fuck, yay, but fuck. And we drilled a lot of stuff because that was a wrestler, and we drilled a lot of stuff from the bottom. And I feel like with my jujitsu and long legs, I could get a wrestler from bottom, but I I was like I tried that in the first round and I had no strength or power in my arms for her force and her drive. That's the fight I learned how to calf kick and manage distance.
Oh, good thing you learned.
I learned quick. I am a quick learner. I really am.
Yeah, well, you'd have another choice. Learn or suffer, right? And
Exactly.
sometimes that's the best way to learn is you
Yeah.
just got to do it, and makes a quick
I
shift.
yeah, I tend to think that's the best way I learn because it's like do or die, and that's kind of my MO.
Hmm. All right. So I've explained to you a little bit about Only Fighters, but what do you think it is as of right now? And it's okay if it's a wrong answer or a wrong guess.
Well, is that because you guys are fairly new, right?
Yeah, we haven't even launched yet. So the
Oh,
reason I asked this question to the fighters is 90%, so that way I can find out what the perception is of
sure.
everybody else that's like outside of the direct like business of it, like not actually working on this.
Yeah,
And then the other part of it is to also give me more ideas as to what it can be and the
sure.
potential it has. So,
I got you. I love that. So I didn't know too much about Only Fighters, and that makes sense as to why, because you're new and haven't launched. But from what I saw in the interviews, I and then what you've even said, I feel like it's a great platform to give an opportunity for fighters. I didn't know anything about Borga, but I
oh,
enjoyed listening to her.
Orga. Yeah,
Yeah, I
she's
enjoyed
amazing.
listening to her. I can't believe she has 3 kids and does bare knuckle and does MMA and runs her businesses. I'm like, forget that. I have cats and dogs, and I don't want to
Her
focus on anything else but
nonprofit might
fighting.
be one to work with too for what you want to do because she
Yeah.
has a nonprofit for domestic abuse to
Oh
help
wow.
women in those situations. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so she might be a good person to connect with as well on that.
I would love to just to pick her brain.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because and that's the thing with self-defense on the reservations on native land is it's not someone in a parking lot that's going to attack you. It's usually a family member or partner. And that there's a whole different feel because you don't really want to gouge someone you love's eyes out or stab them with your tool, like you're just not going to do that. It's kind of like you're frozen.
Right.
So but so I liked that. I liked that about Only Fighters. I thought you guys made a play on the OnlyFans,
Yep.
right? And that you would be asking or showing things about fighters that don't usually get shown. Kind of like how OnlyFans is. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Behind
here's
the
some,
scenes, but not
yeah,
like not a sexual way. Yeah.
I didn't
Well,
think
we'll see.
sexual.
We'll see where the money is, you know?
Yeah.
No, I'm trying very hard to make this like not a sexual site. Like that is my goal is to make it more specific to MMA. And if a fighter that does have an OnlyFans is on this platform, then I
Mhm.
ask that they just put the link in their bio, but not post that content onto this. Um,
Yeah.
so, but what I am having as an idea in mind, because you were talking about you want to be able to pick Jessica's mind, I want
Yeah.
to, I'm going to figure out how to set up a Zoom call for both of you, and then we can get the recording of it. Like, I'll probably just give her or you my login to be able to do it. And then you'll be able to do it from here, and then it'll record, and then we'll have more content for both of you. And then it's just like a whole other aspect that we're giving information on and
Yeah.
where we're able to help people. Um, so,
Yeah. I love
yeah,
that. Thank you.
so that could be awesome. But do you have any questions for me?
What do you see in OnlyFans? Oh,
What do I?
sorry, in Only Fighters.
And only fighters.
You're like,
Well,
ah, how did you know?
I mean, so in only fighters,
Yeah.
what I see is an opportunity for me to be able to change the world, make a name for myself, and then be able to give myself a platform so that way, because I too want to be able to create films, and I want to just do that. Like I think I shared my coma dream story with you. Did I or no?
Remind
Maybe
me
not.
again.
I probably didn't. So,
A co- yeah.
um, I gotta think of how long ago this was now because I'm feeling fucking old. Um,
But you're
7 years
not.
ago, I was in a coma 7 years ago, and the doctors had told my parents that best case scenario, I was going to be in a vegetative state the rest of my life. I had all these dreams while I was in it. I thought they were true when I woke up, and when I did wake up, they brought me to a rehab center to teach me to walk again. On the
Wow.
first night there, the doctor said it was going to be a few months, probably a year before I made it back home. And I told him I was going to be home next week. And he started laughing at me and he's like, I have no clue where you're getting that idea from. It's going to be at least a few months and then we'll talk from there. And I said, well, no offense, doctor, but you don't know me. I'm going to be home next week. And a
Yeah.
week to that day, I was back home. And
No way.
I kid you not. And so I was almost treating the rehab center as if it was a training camp for a fight. That was like my mentality when I was in there, was as if I had a fight coming up. My fight was being able to walk again, being able to get out of there because I didn't want to be stuck and slowed down any more than I already was.
Dang.
Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. So do you remember the dreams?
Oh yeah. So that I guess I'll continue on. So what I did when I made it back home is I wrote down everything about the experience from start to finish, and added to
Yeah.
it over time as I remembered more, got more perspectives, etc. And then
Yeah.
during that whole COVID shutdown, I turned it into a movie script. I got it
Wow.
properly formatted, copyrighted, everything. And
Wow.
so what I want to do in my life is create this film called Coma Dreams. And
Yeah.
so the tagline is a coma is just a comma in your life.
Wow. Do you know how many people that could help? I was just listening to a podcast where she was in a coma but could hear everything. She knew everything was going on, but she couldn't do anything about it. And it's got to be scary. Like some people probably are, don't know what to do. And then they hear these things, oh, she's going to be this way forever and die. And then they start believing it. And then they don't come out of it. This is incredible. So then question for you, were you, what part of you, like, was that like a mental state that you've always had where you're just pushing through because you fought, right? So you understand how tough it is to prepare for fights and you just focus on that and you envision it and you go for it, right? How did you know how to do that?
So I mean, I went to school to be a personal trainer originally. So I had that background, and one of the things we had learned about was called muscle activation technique, which was basically like muscle imbalances, one side
Uh,
of the body being stronger than the other.
yeah.
And so just like with all of the stuff I had learned through that experience, through learning, through being um learning, being a personal trainer, I learned
Mhm.
what muscles I needed to work in order to be able to move them again. I learned,
Mm.
I knew what motions I needed to do. I knew that the rehab wasn't going to be enough unless I rehabbed myself. And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I had that mentality, but like it was incredible when I woke up, not like at first, but at a certain point after I woke up, I felt like invincible, like nothing could stop me because I
Wow.
just beat that coma. And
Yeah.
so like the first I'm not even on Facebook anymore, but the first post I made on Facebook when I woke up was about how I was ready for an MMA fight. And yeah.
Wow.
and and then like I never ended up doing it, but yeah. And I haven't actually fought since then, but I'm gonna start doing some grappling matches again soon, to kind of help, bring some attention to only fighters as well as
Yeah.
get myself competing again. But
Yeah.
I'm not really trying to do any striking or MMA just because it was like, so my brain was swelling was the issue, and
Okay.
so that was what caused me to have seizures, and then
Okay.
that was why I was in a coma. It was a
Oh,
medically
man.
induced coma to calm the brainwaves down.
Okay. So the swelling occurred, why? Because you were taking impact to the head
I
initially? Like,
don't know for
you don't
sure,
know?
but I don't want to take that chance. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
But so they
and it's
don't know
not
why
like I don't
either, right?
ever get hit. I still get hit
Right.
every now and then, but it's
Sure.
like I don't, actively go out and train and spar. And, like I haven't sparred in, I don't even know how long it's been. Probably since before that. It's like, probably 7, 8 years now. But I've done grappling like in the gym, and I've shown techniques, stuff like that. But yeah,
But so they never said what caused that swelling to cause the coma. No?
no, they had different theories, but I don't know that I really agreed with them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, so they called it PRES, and I don't remember what it was an acronym for. It was like posterior reversible something syndrome, and that's what they were defining it as, that whatever I was going through. And I don't really know, but
Well, I'll
someone
tell you
that,
why. It's because you had to have experience so you could share the story. That's why. Who knows why
yeah,
else?
yeah, that's why it happened. So I could have this story, so I could share with
Yeah.
the world and help people be inspired to see that the opinions of the quote unquote experts do not have to be their reality, because you make your
And it's,
reality.
I feel like in hospitals and Western medicine, they're quick to just kind of prescribe the pills or pull the
Oh, yeah,
cord, like and just say that
money.
a blanket statement of this is how it is, this is how they're going to stay or be.
Right.
They're, the body is a magical machine. It can heal itself. And that's what it's saying about the mind can like make things work.
Yes. The body
It's
has the
so
ability to heal
sophisticated.
itself for sure.
Yes. And I like that nowadays it's a little more out there that there are these holistic and cutting edge approaches and technologies that assist in the body healing itself, like red light therapy and
Right.
the PEMF. Like
Yeah.
it's just helping the body to kind of like be reminded. And that's really cool. They didn't have that back in the day. I don't know how these pro wrestlers took the bumps back in the 80s and 90s and still wrestle now. They still wrestle.
Crazy.
Yeah,
And
but I think that
physically
that's
tough.
the this story of yours is incredible. Man,
Thank
that is so cool.
thank you. I appreciate you letting me share it with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you being chosen to be strong enough to do it so that it can be shared.
Um, and yeah, so I intend on creating a lot of films in my life, is what I want to do. Um, and I have like other ideas, but one that I've been working on lately is going to be called The Universe Has Your Back. And the V in universe is going to be capitalized because there's going to be a character in it named Verse, who's this guy I actually knew in real life who was named
Yeah.
Verse. And
Really?
he had like saved me a few different times in a festival weekend. And so what I'm doing with this film is taking all these different festival experiences I've had and putting
Yeah.
them together into one awesome weekend. And so yeah, it's gonna be the universe has your back.
Quick question. Were you
Yeah.
doing hallucinogenics before the coma or after? Because
I
just
had not tried any hallucinogenics until after the coma, till many years
really,
after. It wasn't
because
until I was like, I want to say 5 years ago was probably the first time I tried LSD.
oh
And
wow.
yeah, um, so
I just asked, 'cause I mean, I was doing LSD in high school, but I just feel like when you tap into that part of your brain with the assistance of hallucinogenics, whether it's in a partying atmosphere or ceremony, but it opens up those pathways in the brain and it helps it. I think that the will and the mental strength and fortitude can be unlocked through it. So I was just wondering if you had done that before, it might have helped you get through the
right,
recovery, but
just
obviously
power.
you didn't need it. Some people, most people don't need it, but I just feel like it helps. That's why I think that
Yeah.
ceremonies with plant medicine is good for people. But
Oh, I mean, I definitely think it helped me. It just didn't help me with the coma.
right,
Um,
right, it's helped
but
another way.
But what I will tell you, the first, so, and this is going to be one of the things going into the film, The Universe Has Your Back. So the first time that I had tried LSD, I couldn't find my campsite towards the end of the night because
Yeah.
I was just tripping too hard. And every time I was looking for it, I was looking to the wrong side, and then I would see my friends and get distracted. And I didn't realize until the next day they were camped across from me. And so, like, every time I was right at my campsite, I would just go right over to theirs looking for mine, not even like realizing I was right there. And
Yeah.
so, like, the entire night, 20 times probably, I just like kept running into these people trying to find my campsite. And they asked me the next day, they were like, "Why didn't you tell us that you were looking for your site?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know." And yeah.
That's so
So,
funny. That sounds like a metaphor. Okay. So it's like in any part of life, you're out there searching and wanting and seeking for whatever it is you're trying to go for. And you're right there, but then you get distracted. It's like
yes,
everything, every time you're so close to something and then you get distracted or you get discouraged or something. But if you even just expressed it or shared the fact of what you were going for or wanted, maybe someone could have helped you.
right.
That's a cool little
Um,
story.
and then, another side story that's going to be going into this. Um, I had met myself during this time because so there was a point where it was first kicking in. I'm walking
Yes.
down this path and I'm about to turn to go down another path. And I see this guy walking from the same path on the other side, and he's about to turn to go down the same path that I am. I don't know how I knew he was going to turn, but I knew he was.
Yeah.
And so he looked at me, and then I looked at him, and then he pointed at me, and I pointed back at him, and he goes, "You're awesome." I go, "You're awesome too." We put our arms around each other, never seen each other before in our lives, walked
Yeah.
down this path together. And then I ask him, I say, "What's your name, bro?" He goes, "Matt." "What's yours?" I'm like, "No way, I'm Matt." And so then it was like, I kid you not, I saw him like 25, 30 times that night. And every time I saw him, he would ask me how I was. We'd give each other a hug. And it was like a reminder to make sure I'm checking in with myself and make sure I'm doing
No,
good, you
I
know?
love that. Yes,
And
absolutely. And
so,
and it, those types of festivals and stuff, you have those encounters. That's why it's pretty cool.
yes, yes. And that's why it all has to go into a movie,
Yeah.
because they're just too good of experiences. But anyway,
Yes.
so then I'm still trying to find my campsite. I couldn't find it. So I ended up going to the part of the festival that I was working at. And there they had like some air mattresses set up and some places for people to be able to sleep and take naps, whatever, beanbag chairs. And so I had gone over there, and then I had saw someone was doing sound healing with a gong, and they were like taking it down for the night. So I went over to them and I was like, "Please, can we do this right now? It would really like help me manifest what I'm doing." Like, I don't even remember what I said exactly, but I was just like super energetic, enthusiastic, and asking like I need to do this, and they were like, "Well,
Yeah.
we're kind of done for the night." And I picked it up from the ground and I gave it back to them. I was like, "Please, what can we do to make this happen right now?" And they're like, all right, we can do it for another few minutes. And so then I sat down and they got the gong going. And then the one person that was at that part of the festival that I had like told that I was tripping, like of the people I was working with, of the group of
Hmm.
people I was working with there, he was the only one I had told because I was
Yeah.
worried I was going to be judged. So anyway,
Oh,
I
really?
had told him, and he had come over to see how I was doing. And I was like, it's actually an incredible experience. And he said to me, he's like, anything you want in this life, it's going to be yours. All you got to do is just ask for it. And then someone walks over and gives me a Gatorade and is like, hey, do you want a Gatorade? I have a whole bunch of them. And I was like, yeah, sure. And, so I had that's what I remembered most. And then I had this realization in my mind. Have you ever seen the movie The Truman Show?
Yes.
Okay. So in my mind, I had the realization that my life is the Coach Bergen show and,
Mm.
you know, CBS, Coach Bergen show. And
Oh,
so um, it was like, okay, that's why I didn't die in the coma because the Coach Bergen show is put out by CBS. They can't lose their main character because the whole show ends at that point. And
right.
and then the last few years, the only real job I've had aside from working for myself is working for shifts at Amazon. So like Amazon, I'm convinced has some syndicate rights to my show. And so it's probably airing on Prime, and I just can't visit, can't see it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I try to live my life like I'm the star of a TV show, and I
You
try
are.
to make my decisions accordingly. And I,
I
I
like
can't
that.
really say for sure how much I believe it to be true, but it helps to believe it more often than it doesn't.
Yeah, it gives a good perspective, like, because what's that saying? It doesn't matter what you do in public, it matters what you do when you're alone. Like, how are you being when you're by
Right.
yourself? If you had cameras on you all the time, you're going to be a little more conscientious of everything that you're saying and doing and reacting like. So I guess that would keep you kind of in line. But then
Yeah.
you learn how to be yourself, but you still want to be yourself and not fake. So I guess it'd be a good practice to think like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the
that
other
is
end of
cool.
it is that sometimes I probably come across a little bit delusional because like I've had times where I've said to my friends or said to people like, no, 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 it's got to go this way because this is the Coach Bergen show, and so this, and then
That's not
there's
delusional. It is
um,
your show, so you have to be assertive like that because you can't just sit back and like make things not happen the way you want. This is you have a vision.
so I'm going to continue on with that story with so then the sound healing, they are like putting it away now, and I asked them, I'm like, do you want me to go? And he's like, well, I didn't really want you to sit down to begin with, but whenever you're ready to get up is cool. And I was like, all right, thank you. And then I gave him a hug, and then I went to lay down on one of the air mattresses, and someone, I don't know who, but someone had come over and put a blanket over me and given me a kiss on the forehead. And then when I woke up the next morning, I saw someone staring at me. And if it was anybody else, I would have been freaked out, but it was Matt.
Matt.
And the first thing he said to me was, "Good morning, Matt. How are you?" And I was like, "Good, Matt. How are you?" And then like we talked about how my adventure was, and then that was it. I
Yeah,
literally have not seen that dude since. I don't even know if he really exists, but I'm pretty convinced he does. Um, but yeah,
he does. He does in some reality.
in some reality, exactly. Might
Yeah.
maybe not this one.
So that's what's cool. Like those little experiences are like things you can't really tell everybody, share. Well, like they're and the more times you're around that type of people, that community, they're
Right,
kind of it's kind of conducive to having those types of and they're not coincidences are strange. That's kind of how things should be, but we're so distracted in regular everyday and so focused on ourselves that like who I could sleep in my front yard and no one's going to put a blanket on me. That's for sure. Like no one's going to care. But
right,
at those places they do. And it just kind of proves like we need community. We need each other.
for sure, for sure. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. So I appreciate that, you made the time for this today and we were able to get it done. Um,
Yeah.
and if you don't have any other questions for me, then I will let you go on with your day and we'll be in touch.
I have a question. Are you
Yes.
going to include your story and the answer in the interview as well?
I am going to include the whole thing in the
Okay.
interview, aside from maybe the first 10 minutes where we're trying to figure out how to get
Um,
us connected.
yeah, yeah, not that one. Yeah, not
But
that.
yeah, unless you tell me otherwise, if you want anything taken out.
No, no, I don't care. We didn't even talk about anything. I like that you're so open to share your LSD experiences.
Thank you.
I didn't want to keep doing LSD because like I said, I used to party a lot and I was at high school. I remember snowboarding on LSD. I'm like, I'm so lucky. But I recently visited um DMT for the first time.
Okay. I
And that
haven't
was
tried that, but tell me.
well, it was with a healer who I've worked with before. She does somatic therapy, but she likes to utilize the DMT. And before I was like, no thanks. My body, I got it. Cause, just I don't want to go back to my partying days really. But of course it's not partying because that's not what it was ever meant for. That was just what I did use it for. But man, it released stuff that I thought was gone or that I had forgiven or that I had let go of. And since then, it was September of last year, I've just been on this like whirlwind of changes and revelations, and like I could see certain types of people shedding away, but certain types come. It's just been crazy. So I'm just saying I'm glad that you're so open to sharing that because I think that there's a lot of really positive things that come from it. Um, I just hope, yeah, who cares if people are judgmental anyway, but I just hope that people will take it in the right way. Even if they don't ever want to do it, they can be open to it and that it's helped a lot of people.
Right. And the people who are going to care about it aren't going to care enough about this in general to watch all the way through to that point of where I'm sharing the story. So, you
So
know, they're already committed at this point if they've seen to hear, I would
good
think.
job, everybody.
Yeah, good job. That's
Yeah.
commitment. We're just talking about commitment.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
and I'm glad we got to do this today. And
Me too.
I'm gonna make clips for you as soon as I can. And yeah, all right.
Thank you so much. I had fun.
Me too.
See,
Thank you.
see you. See you on the
All right,
Instagram. Body
of
slamming
course.
queen 333.
Yes, absolutely. I'll put it on screen at the bottom.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.
Bye bye.